when we also have the different angle of it where the reason why they're Sybil resistant, right, is because all nodes have to basically you have to prove like you got some of that money in order to run this. And the problem is it seems like exchanges have a lot of that money.
Yeah.
And I was personally surprised at how like I knew, obviously Justin Sun is a person of some kind of wealth and influence. I thought more concrete influence over his own network and softer influence over others. But it seems like it acted almost like he ran all the major exchanges, even though I don't think this is the case. But it seems like he just, uses phone a friend lifeline and just says, hey, can you like help me take over the sure, and like they didn't even think about it or its repercussions, and just I believe that's called embezzlement, right? Is appropriation of funds for something that's not in there, that they're not authorized to do. So what I would consider a massive embezzlement of customer funds across many exchanges, that then they found different creative ways of explaining away, whether technical difficulties or I don't know. But what happened was, I mean, I wasn't there, I have no proof, but what it seems to have happened is one guy said, hey, exchanges, just go take these guys, governance away from them. And do you see that as a problem of all stake-based systems? Maybe not necessarily an insurmountable problem, but definitely a serious one, where a few large actors that can be easily influenced by, say, state actors can control like a super majority of the tokens and therefore the entire coin.
That is true. Existing proof of stake systems do have this problem, where exchanges, which end up having a lot of funds, end up having a lot of power. And there is no way to have the exchanges custody your coins for you and hold the value for you while you yourself retain the voting rights. The exchange ends up having everything that's possible with the coin, and they can misappropriate that power and use it to, as you said, to take over an existing network. So that said, I'm still bullish in the area, and I'm still bullish in even these first generation coins, each first generation proof of stake coins. This happened once. It happened in a relatively small system, and I don't think people will stand for it again. I don't think that this is going to be an ongoing thing. Like we dealt with it once. I think the exchanges are going to be very, very loath to take over, any system, and to take over their customers' voting rights away from them.
Yeah, that still introduces an area where now we know that they can, and they can act quickly.
Yeah.
And that becomes a little chilling. Now, what doesn't seem to be vulnerable to this exact problem is proof of work systems. Mm-hmm. But it seems like there might be a different vulnerability where, for example, say 75% of Bitcoin's hash rate is in China through a few major mining pools, and I can't see it as exactly that difficult for a state actor, for example, to strong arm them into doing something. Mm-hmm. And not even like shut them all down, but strong arm them into rejecting certain transactions or doing some other things. Mm-hmm. And it's again, another key figure in this whole thing, CZ of Binance. He was central to this whole Steam nonsense. But then before, when there was that big Binance hack, he casually threw out there about, we have some miners, we can just reverse these transactions. And then later he was just like, just kidding, guys. And I kind of didn't take that as a just kidding, guys. I took that as like a Freudian slip, kind of he was thinking out loud about what could actually be done. Mm-hmm. Do you think proof of work is any less resistant or any more resistant? How do you think that figures out?
Absolutely not. Proof of work has a lot of things going against it. In fact, many more compared to proof of stake. Proof of stake is strictly more powerful in what it can do compared to proof of work. A lot of things are externalized in proof of work. They happen behind the scenes. They happen implicitly. And in proof of stake, they are at least within the system. You can see them happening. And if you design your POS system properly, you can avoid some of these scenarios. Now, if we look at, like, let's say the Bitcoin mining scene, the Bitcoin community is very upset at Bitmain, But Bitmain is the dominant miner. 95% of the mining rigs out there come from Bitmain. They determine who becomes a miner and who doesn't. You gotta be you gotta have a great relationship with Jihan and his company if you want to remain in that business for long. Let's see. At the end of the day, if I look at, last time I looked at Bitcoin, I don't know what it is now, but last time I looked at, there were only 19 mining pools. So all that decentralization comes down to 19 positions of power. Now, people who are Bitcoin maxis are going to go up in arms and say, well, how can you say that there are so many more miners, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there are so many more miners, but they're getting their command control. They've deferred their command and control to the mining pools, just like the coin holders had deferred their command and control to exchanges. So it's the same analogous problem. There are only 19 controllers, if you will, of what goes on the blockchain in Bitcoin. It's a tiny number. It's worse than EOS. Everybody makes fun of EOS for not being centralized enough. We talked about their problems a second ago. And then now what? So Bitcoin isn't that much better. In fact, it's strictly worse. I haven't checked recently, but I think it's still in the 24 range or so. And certainly 3 or 4 of these are over they make up more than 51% of the hash power. So if they decide to keep a certain transaction out, they can orphan blocks all day long and keep those transactions out. So where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us in a very, very funny spot, right? You've got these proof of work systems, and I think an analogy that you've used before is a penny farthing bicycle. Right? They're like the ancient systems of old, and we all love them, right? I love Bitcoin. It's like your first kiss. You can never forget that moment. It's a special moment, but it is a moment long past in history. We've gone beyond it, and we're looking for more meaningful relationships. We're looking for, if you will, better systems that don't suffer from the problems of these first-generation proof-of-work systems. And then you've got the first-generation proof-of-stake systems, which have their own problems. So the area is constantly evolving. We're moving towards better and better protocols.